Good morning students, I am Shomajit sir. Today I am here to deliver my lecture on topic algae. So watch the entire lecture to get basics out of it. Here I will discuss about algae, its characteristic features and its type. So this is from the chapter Plant Kingdom, the third chapter from unit 1. So stay at home, stay safe, and without any delay let's start with the topic algae. So let's start from the topic algae. We'll discuss about it in details. Now algae, what is an algae? Algae are simple thalloid, autotrophic, chlorophyll bearing and aquatic, freshwater and marine organism. Alright, so they are very simple. They are thalloid. Thalloid means they are undifferentiated into roots, stems and leaf. They are autotrophic mode of nutrition, so that autotrophic means they can prepare their own food. Alright, and the chlorophyll bearing, that means they have chlorophyll so that they can produce their own food by the means of photosynthesis, and they can live in both freshwater and marine. They can also occur in moist stones, soil and wood. Some occur in association with fungi, that is lichen, and animals, example on sloth bear. So they algae occur in association with fungi, that is called lichen, and algae also remain associated with the sloth bear. You can say sloth bear green fur is due to the presence of certain algae. Next, you can see the examples of algae. The form and size of algae is highly variable. Alright, like you have different forms like microscopic unicellular forms, that is example Chlamydomonas. Colonial forms, example Volvox. Filamentous form, example Electrix and Spirogyra. All pictures are given. You can see Chlamydomonas structure is given, Volvox structure is given, Electrix structure is given, Spirogyra structure is given. Now how algae reproduces? Alright, so it reproduces by three methods. One is vegetative reproduction, one is asexual reproduction, and is sexual reproduction. So by vegetative reproduction means by fragmentation, each fragment develops into a thallus. By fragmentation, you can see on top figure is given, one filamentous one filamentous algae is there. You can see one filamentous algae broken down into different fragments. So by fragmentation this is this example Spirogyra. And asexual reproduction it can do by production of spores, example juice spore. These are the most common, and they are flagellated, motile, and they germinate to give rise to new plant. Alright, you can see the juice spore figure. And sexual reproduction through fusion of two gametes. When two gametes fuse is called sexual reproduction. Yes, sexual reproduction of algae takes place. Now under sexual reproduction you have isogamous type and oogamous type. Isogamous, you can see the first one is isogamous, second one is anisogamous, and third picture is for oogamous or oogamy. So what happens in isogamous is a fusion of gametes similar in size. Alright, so what is isogamous? Is a fusion of gametes similar in size. They can be both flagellated or they can be both unflagellated or non-flagellated. So if both are flagellated, we can see an example Electrix, and if both are non-flagellated, we can see Spirogyra. This flagella helps in movement. Alright, so if they have flagella they can move and they are motile. If they don't have flagella they are non-motile and they cannot move. So you can see the example anisogamous. Anisogamous means fusion of gametes of dissimilar size. Alright, some species is Eudorina. Alright, example is Eudorina. So anisogamous means one is bigger, another is smaller. You can see the size. Next is oogamous. What is oogamous? It's a fusion between one large non-motile, that is static, female gamete and the smaller motile male gamete. You can see oogamous means different in size, whereas in this process dissimilable size will be there, but one is the female will be non-motile, they don't have flagella, and the male will have flagella. Example we can see in Volvox and Fucus. Now what are the benefits of algae? what benefits can be given. So through photosynthesis, they fix half the total carbon dioxide of Earth and increases the level of dissolved oxygen. All right. So they fix the carbon dioxide. All right. Total, total half. That means out of the total half, the total carbon dioxide is fixed on Earth, and they increases the dissolved oxygen. All right. And they are the primary producers and the basis of food cycle of all aquatic plants. Okay. Now you can see about 70 species of marine algae are used as food. You can see how beneficial it is. 70 species of marine algae are used as food. Example, porphyra, laminaria, sargassum. So agar, next point is agar from gelidium and glaciolaria. So it is used for the growth of microbes and in ice creams and jellies. So these agar that is produced from algae, it is used in growth of microorganisms and used in ice creams and jellies. Example, porphyra, laminaria, sargassum, gelidium, gracilia, agar, and different other products are there. All right. So we move to the next slide. See, there are many economic importance of algae, many benefits of algae. All right. So number 5, you see some marine brown and red algae produce hydrocolloids, that is water holding substances. Example, algin is there, this is a brown algae, and carrageen is there, this is a red algae. So these are commercially used. Next we have a protein rich unicellular algae like chlorella and spirulina are used as food supplement by space travelers. All right. So those human beings are going to the space. All right, astronauts and all. So they use algae as food supplement. All right, like chlorella, spirulina, they're food supplement for space travelers. You can see how beneficial it is. Now you can see the different classes of algae. You have chlorophyceae, that is green algae, phaeophyceae, that is brown algae, and rhodophyceae, that is red algae. All right. The examples are given. You can see three main classes of algae is chlorophyceae, phaeophyceae, rhodophyceae. Actually, there are many classes of algae, but in your syllabus there are only three: chlorophyceae, phaeophyceae, rhodophyceae. There are other bacillophyceae. All right. The items are there. So the classes of algae, three are given in your syllabus. One is chlorophyceae, the green algae, phaeophyceae, brown algae, and rhodophyceae, red algae. The examples are given on the side. Now first one, what is chlorophyceae? Chlorophyceae means chloro, means prince of chlorophyll, means this is a green algae, right? So these are unicellular colonial all filamentous algae. They're usually grass green due to the pigments chlorophyll A and B in their chloroplast. So they have chlorophyll A and B in their chloroplast, and these chloroplasts may be discoid, plate-like, reticulate, cup-shaped, spiral, or even shaped in different species. All right. So they are varying in shape. They can be cup-shaped, they can be plate-shaped, they can be spiral-shaped, they can be ribbon-shaped, and they have chlorophyll A and B due to which they are clear in color. You can see examples are given. Now most of them in the chlorophyceae, most of them have one or more pyrenoids. Pyrenoids are the storage bodies. They are located in the chloroplast. So inside the chloroplast there is a storage body called pyrenoid, and these pyrenoid contain proteins besides starch. Alright, so these pyrenoid contain proteins besides starch. Starch is also there, and in addition to it proteins also there. And some algae store food as oil droplets, and they have rigid cell wall made up of an inner cellulose layer and outer pectinous layer, pectose layer. All right. So I have a rigid cell wall. The inner content of the cell wall is made up of cellulose layer, and the outer content is made up of pectose layer. So you can see a structure of chlamydomonas on the left hand side showing pyrenoids and cell wall. All right. So you can see the pyrenoids are given here. Cell walls are also given. This is an example of chlorophyceae. That is a green algae, and algae, the example is chlamydomonas. Next we have most of them. So you can see examples like chlamydomonas, volvox, ulothrix, pyruvate, and cara. These are the examples of chlorophyll. Cara is a very important example. You can see the diagrams are also given of chlorophyll like chlamydomonas, volvox. All right. So you can see example of ulothrix, pyruvate, cara, all are given. Now, reproduction of chlorophyll or green algae. How reproduction takes place? Same way by vegetative method as sexual method and sexual method. How they does reproduction vegetative method? By fragmentation or by formation of different types of spores. All right. Either they produce different types of spores. Either they produce different types of spores or by fragmentation. And asexual reproduction by flagella, by flagellated juice spore produced by juice sporangium. All right. So the asexual reproduction by juice spore that is produced in juice sporangium, and sexual reproduction by isogamous and isogamous and oogamous. I have already discussed in earlier slide what is isogamous and isogamous and oogamous. Now next class of algae we have phaeophysi, that is brown algae. So they are mostly marine forms and they show great variation in size and form. They range from simple branched filamentous form, example ectocarpus, to profusely branched forms, example kelps, that is 100 meter in height. And they have chlorophyll A and C, carotenoids and xanthophylls. They vary in color from olive green to brown depending upon the amount of xanthophyll pigment, that is fucoxanthin. So you can see example ectocarpus, kelps. All right. So you can see in phaeophysi, food is stored as a complex carbohydrate, that is laminin or mannitol. So the vegetative cells have a cellulose wall covered with a gelatinous coating, that is algae. All right. Then protoplast contain plastids, central vacuole and nucleus. And the plant body is attached to the substratum by a holdfast. Holdfast means where the hold. All right. And has a stalk, that is type, and leaf-like photosynthetic organ, that is fronds. So example here we have ectocarpus, laminuria, sargassum, fucus, dictyoita. Alright, so these are the example of phaeophysi. Here algae is most important, and they are complex food carbohydrates, laminuria and mannitol. Alright, so you can see another example, ectocarpus, sargassum. Figures are given. So next is phaeophysi. All right, in this phaeophysi, these are brown algae, right, and and is variable reproduction by fragmentation. You can see, and asexual reproduction by pear-shaped biflagellate zoospores having two unequal laterally attached flagella, and sexual reproduction by isogamous and isogamous or oogamous, where union of gametes occur in water or within the oogonium, that's oogamous species. So gametes are pear-shaped, piriform, bearing two laterally attached flagella. You can see the structures are given. So they also have a red thalli, due to which a red pigment R-fucosinin, alright, R-phycocyanin. So they have a red thalli, due to which they form a red pigment, that is R-phycoerythrinocyanin. Alright, so they have a red thalli, due to which they form a red pigment, that is R-phycoerythrin. And majority of them are marine, especially warmer areas. So they occur both in well-lighted region close to the surface of water and at a great depth in occasion where relatively little light penetrates. So you have example Porphyra, Polysiphonia. Alright. So third we have another class, we have Rhodophysi, that is a red algae. So you can see examples like Polysiphonia, Porphyra, Glaciolaria, Gelidium. So these are the falling under Rhodophysi, and most of them are unicellular. Rhodophysi, most of them are multicellular, not unicellular. So under Rhodophysi, most of them are multicellular. Some have a complex body organization, and the food that is stored as Floridian starch, right, which is structurally very similar to the amylopectin and glycogen. So their reserve food material is Floridian starch, and they are multicellular in nature, and they reproduces by vegetative method, asexual method, and sexual method. So by vegetative method by means of fragmentation, asexual method by means of non-motile spores, and sexual reproduction by means of oogamous type. All right, oogamous type, you can see left hand side the life cycle of Polysiphonia is falling under example rhodophyceae, red algae. So oogamous type means by non-motile gametes it has a complex post-fertilization development. So this is a very important slide where the differences between chlorophyceae, phaeophyceae and rhodophyceae is given. This is a summary. So you can see chlorophyceae, the common name is green algae, phaeophyceae brown algae, and rhodophyceae are called red algae. And the major pigments found in chlorophyceae is chlorophyll A and B, and in phaeophyceae we have chlorophyll A and C and fucoxanthin. And in rhodophyceae we have chlorophyll A and D and phycoerythrin. So these phycoerythrin give red color. Then what are the reserve foods? Chlorophyceae is starch, phaeophyceae is mannitol laminarin, and rhodophyceae Floridian starch. Then cell wall. So chlorophyceae cell wall is made up of cellulose, and phaeophyceae cell wall is made up of cellulose and algin, and rhodophyceae cell wall is made up of cellulose. Next we have flagellar number and number of insertion. So in chlorophyceae we have 2 to 8 equal flagella, alright, and insertion is apical, and phaeophyceae is 2 unequal and lateral, and rhodophyceae is absent. Now the habitat, chlorophyceae are freshwater, saltwater and brackish water. They live in freshwater, saltwater and brackish water, whereas in phaeophyceae, freshwater they live rare in freshwater, mostly they live in saltwater and brackish water. Similarly for rhodophyceae, some species live in freshwater and mostly they live in saltwater and brackish water. So students, these are the homework questions. First is write the characteristic features of algae and write down the differences between chlorophyceae, rhodophyceae and phaeophyceae, and write few examples of algae. Thank you students. This was all about the entire lecture. Here I have discussed about the topic algae. This from chapter 3, unit 1 of class 11. So watch the entire lecture to gain basics out of it. Stay at home, stay safe. I'm Shomji sir signing off for today, and again we'll meet in the next class. Thank you students.